look at that. I did it. I think I actually got us live, did a countdown, the whole shooting match. So it's just all professional these days here at the big board. How you doing, Chuck? Doing all right?
I'm getting a little bit of reverb. I'm doing great.
Getting some reverb. Yeah, you may, if you have the YouTube channel up as well, then that may be going on in the background.
Got it.
Yeah.
Operator error.
Operator error. There you go. All right. Well, we're going to talk about your particular Stuka game today. Yeah.
I hope so.
Okay. All right. And I couldn't find a shirt with a Stuka on it, so I took the modern version. I got the A10. I'm wearing the A10 today, so it's the best I can do. Same. It's all the same, right? It's all planes dropping bombs on things, right? So it's all good, right? Yep. So anyway, well, thanks for joining. And I was curious about Stuka Leader now, having played Zero Leader, and you and I talked about the design of that previously, and I know that there's Kickstarter coming up, so it seemed like a great time for us to have a chat about this and see what's new, what's different, what's the same, and kind of have a rundown on that. And then I'm sure we're going to have people ask questions about Stuka this, Stuka that, Junkers 87 something, and we'll work all that out as we go, just so everybody knows. Today, we're talking about the DVG game, Stuka Leader, not any of the others, but we're happy to touch on the others as needed without dogpiling on them. So we're gonna try and do that. Well, I'm gonna try and do that anyway. You can say whatever you like, Chuck.
I'm just gonna stay here and listen. I've got no questions.
Great. Well, so we got a few people. We got a few people here. I
want to say hi to Vladimir Dudas. He is my graphic artist.
Awesome.
He's made the cards and the campaign sheets and all of that stuff look so awesome. It's unbelievable. And wonderful. I see Kevin Burson is on here too. He's a master hand grenade thrower. Whenever we think we got something straight, Kevin throws a hand grenade in and gets it all going.
Oh,
so
excellent.
Just wanted to give a shout out to those two.
Yeah, sure. No problem. We got Charles Latorre. He's a long time viewer, listener, and John, I'm a comedian. Longshore is here. He's the peanut gallery guest. So it's not a show unless John's here poking fun. So it's all good. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about where you came up with the idea for Stuka Leader. Obviously there's a lot of similarities in this because it's a base system, but talk us through why the Stuka? Why not a Messerschmitt or a Fokker or something? Why?
Well, number one, because Messerschmitt didn't fit on the box.
All right.
Actually, we did have a lot of conversation about this. I was originally going to just name it Jaeger Leader, and then Kevin, Dan, and we were all talking, and Messerschmitt or 109 or 190, those types of things, they don't ring like Stuka does. So Stuka Leader, it sounds awesome, and it really is. It's exactly like Zero Leader. I mean, yes, there's zeros in that game, and yes, there's Stukas in virtually every campaign. You can fly a Stuka.
Right.
But there's a lot of other aircraft also.
Right.
The idea is just to evoke the ground attack phase, the light bomber phase of the Germans, and everything else. So I think it's a pretty cool name. Better than Jaeger Leader.
Other than what, sorry?
Jaeger Leader, which was my original choice of my working title, if you will.
Yeah, well, that sounds to me like a Jägermeister. I feel like I'm going to be doing those sugary, nasty shots or something. So I'm not sure that was a good choice. I think I like Stuka better.
Ah, excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark is on. Hi, Mark. Mark
who else we got? Yeah.
Harley Arcade, he says. Oh, and Michael Eckenfels. Yeah, I was just chatting with Mike. He's got one coming out too. He's working on one.
On a leader title.
Yep.
Which is what is its name, or does it have a name?
B-52 Leader.
Okay.
So it'll tie right in with mine.
Yeah.
There actually is very little time loss. The B-52s came out forever ago, but it sounds like an extremely cool game. And Mark sent me a picture of his grandpa. He was in the Luftwaffe in World War II, and thanks to Vlad, we were able to put him on the turreted bomber attack sheet. So he's got a little picture clipped to the top of it. Looks pretty cool. So yeah, that was really neat.
Cool. So Stuka's going to have obviously more than Stuka. So we're going to have the full spectrum of the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe Air Force, and we'll be doing a whole range of missions in everything from I'm guessing the patrols and the bombing runs and the whole shoot match, right?
That is correct.
And,
yeah,
and go ahead.
No, we've got. I mean, the Germans had very few types of aircraft that they actually used. The 109 and the 190 were basically their single-engine fighter planes. So they had really few types that they flew, but a million marks of each type. And it was it's really fun to look through them and which ones do we pick. And I'm sure people are going to say, oh, you didn't put this one in there. And I had to draw the line somewhere, but I've got 3 versions of the 109, 3 versions of the 190, and that kind of stuff. So I've got a pretty good selection of aircraft in there. And one more shout out to this avid hat wearer. That happens to be Ben, my airplane artist, the guy who's making the airplanes look so awesome.
Okay, so who's this? Is that Harley?
Avid hat wearer.
Here he is. Okay.
Yep, there he is. Yep, the unfortunate username. Yep.
That's a great name too. That's cool. All right,
he took off from shopping in order to come on here and listen to us.
Well, I would probably prefer to actually hang out here than go shopping. I think that's probably a win.
It's kind of an inside joke when I needed him to do something, and he said, wait, I'm shopping with my wife. So Vlad and I have been giving him a lot of grief about shopping. So
that's great.
Why don't I say that to him? But anyway, yeah, we've been, there are an awful lot of aircraft. I believe 30 types of aircraft in there, types and marks. Everything from with the Spanish expansion, the Spanish Civil War, you're flying HE-51s, HS-123 ground attacks, and the Ju-86 bomber, all the way up to the What If, which has the TA-183, which kind of looks like a Russian MiG-15. And you've got the Horner, HO-299, all of those types of aircraft, and everything in between.
What about the 262? Did you guys put that in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the 262 is out there. It's, if you're familiar with the games, you spend SO to buy special items and do all that kind of stuff. Well, the 262 is a little bit, you might look at it at first and say, well, that's an expensive airplane to buy because it's a lot of SOs. But what we did, Kevin and I worked on it, and I was explaining to him about JV-44, and we put some very special ME-262 pilots. They are a little more dangerous than your average pilot. So they can really do some stuff. They're well worth the SOs if you could stick one or two.
Yeah, so to buy into that skill set. Yeah.
Yes. Because it's got the best of the best flying the best aircraft. So it's a dangerous squadron.
And what are they going to be matching up against, and how are you looking at that from a campaign and sort of scenario perspective?
Okay, as far as bandits are concerned, we start with the PZL-11 in Poland. We've got the D520, of course the Hurricane, the Spitfire. We get the Viewfighter is in there. The Gloucester Gladiator is in there. P-39s, P-40s, P-47s, P-51s, P-38s. That's right off the top of my head. And then, of course, you get the Russians. The MiG-1, Yak-1. Scary. But we got a bunch of Russian bandits, a bunch of Well, we have with the Mediterranean expansion, you fly Italian aircraft. So I've got four Italian aircraft that actually add the game. The SM-79, CR-42, and which is the biplane that fights the Monster Gladiator. And also the MC-202 and the RE-2001. Those are all in there too. So if you've got the Mediterranean theater, and you can, it'll be covered in the rules, you can take your Italian aircraft and fly the Battle of Britain, which they actually did. They didn't do very well, but they did actually attack England during the Battle of Britain.
I didn't know that.
You can do that, yep.
I did not know
and
that.
then on the Allied side, you pick up like the B-24 bomber, all different kinds of stuff. B-25, B-26, those are all in there. So
if you're running,
collection.
Right. So if you're running a camp, so those will be Kickstarter expansions. That'll be like stretch goals, or will they be add-ons that you get?
No, these are actually add-ons, expansions, because when I originally started, I thought, okay, I can do these little things, little add-ons, but the typical expansion is a campaign or two and 56 cards and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Eastern Europe had to be 2 because I had aircraft I wanted to put in there. I've got targets, I've got events, campaigns, the whole shooting match. So there's actually 2 Eastern Europe and there's 2 Mediterranean for the same reason. I had so much stuff to do, couldn't do it in just one.
Right.
Now you can buy one or both of any of those expansions. Spanish Civil War is one expansion. The Aces, of course, and then I've also got a What If expansion, which is what if Germany had these awesome stuff that they had on their drawing boards? What if they actually had those available? And it's pretty cool.
That's very cool. Well, I know that the Zero Leader box was amongst this is probably not 8-9 pounds. It feels like 8 pounds of stuff, right? I mean, it's as heavy as Pacific War, right?
Yep.
It's a big, heavy game. So I'm going to guess it's all not going to go in one box. So you're going to have multiple boxes for Stuka. Then if you took all the expansions and all that sort of stuff, or
if you take all the expansions, you may have a problem getting your box shut again.
Yeah.
I'm a little more organized, I guess, for lack of better words, on Stuka Leader than I was on Zero Leader, because that was my first try. So I'm a little more organized on Stuka Leaders, a little more use of things. Actually, I wasn't smart enough to backside some of the counters, so now I'm getting twice as many counters in the same amount of space. So there should be some room in there, but if you buy all 7 expansions, you're gonna need a big box.
Right. So you may need a DVG counter box and card box or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And guys can make those little like they did. People do it for Combat Commander and stuff like that, where they make up those card boxes and stuff like that. So you just put it on, help it all fit in. Yeah, because that's a heavy one. All right, so that's interesting. Well, and so scenario in the base game, what you do East and Western Front, I imagine, and is Battle of Britain included in that, or is that?
Nope, the base game is the Western Front.
Western Front. Okay.
We have Poland, and then we do France. And then now stretch goal is Dunkirk when we're doing France. The stretch goal is a Dunkirk campaign. Then we have the Canal Kampf, which was before the Battle of Britain when the Germans were trying to get the ships out of the channel. And then we have the Battle of Britain. And then from 41 on, it's more defensive. Although, there's still, even at the end of the war, there were still German pinprick bombings and doing that kind of stuff. Now we get into a lot of defensive missions.
Right.
And then 42, it's when the Americans come. Now you start to see B-17 bombers, and you start to see, hi, Dennis. You start to see the B-17, B-26, and starts off with the P-38 and moves on up to the 51s.
Right. So a lot of intercept missions and stuff like that for the end of the war, right?
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned intercept missions, because one of the things with a DVG game, they've got a fantastic system. But one of the things that I thought was kind of weird is if you're intercepting bombers, They sit in the middle and just wait for you to get there and shoot them down. Okay.
Right.
I've developed new intercept rules where now the bombers start on the far side of the board and you start on the east side and the escorts are in between. So now the bombers are coming because they have to get off the east edge of the board. So the bombers are actually moving. It doesn't really change the play that much, although now you can do some tactics and different kinds of things. But for me, it's just the tactile feel. The bombers are just moving across your area, heading towards their target, and you have to intercept them and knock them down. So that is one of the brand new types of targets that I have created for this game.
Okay, well, that's cool. So that'll be different. Is that something that you would consider, and I'm just spitballing here, would you consider retrofitting that into Zero Leader or any of the other modules? Or is it really something that's specific to Stuka?
Nope, it can be anywhere. And we've talked about it with Dan and Kevin. And that's one of the things you mentioned, all of the leader games that are out. And that's one of the things when you're doing a leader, and I think we talked about this last time, like Star Wars has a canon and you got to stay in here because people let you know if that monster is always purple and you made it blue. So we deal with that all the time. And if you picture an envelope, I definitely am pushing the edges of it. And Dan sometimes goes, "Come out," but I'm pushing the edges of it to just try and keep improving and making it even more fun, more exciting. But the main thing is to give the player decisions.
Yes.
One of the things people don't like about solitaire games is they're roll a die, check a chart, roll a die, check a chart, blah, blah, blah. With all of the leader games, you have to make decisions, how you arm your aircraft, which aircraft you fly, which aircraft you pick to start with, and everything else. Well, I like to put little mechanisms that do not increase the complexity by any large amount, but yet give you all kinds of decisions. And when I was having a friend actually do some play testing, he was play testing the intercept missions and doing that kind of stuff. And he just loved it because he had different decisions. Who do I attack? Where do I attack them? And that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. That's one of the reasons why when I first played Phantom Leader, I really enjoyed it. And it was some documentary that I watched on the now I can't remember the name of the aircraft from Vietnam, the jet Thunder. Doggone it, can't remember. But anyway, I wanted to see what these pilots were like, or what the experience was when they were going in to try and take out AA systems and things like that, SAM sites and stuff like that. And I was impressed with the decision cycles that you had to go through to get through your mission, and then the tactics that were involved with making all of that happen. So, and I think you captured a lot of that, using the same system, of course, but you captured that and deepened it with Zero Leader. So I'm excited to see what happens with Stuka here.
Thank you. That's the idea of it. I want you to feel like you actually are in command of the squadron and what your pilots do and how they do it and everything else. So it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of that. Some of the simpler, F-105 Thunder Chief. I'm seeing that. So, I've got a bunch of simple mechanisms in here. One of the things, Zero Leader was really into maintenance, okay? Because the Japanese, it was very difficult for them to fix their aircraft. They didn't have parts. They didn't have knowledge. They didn't have the facilities. Well, Germans really didn't have that problem. They were very good at fixing their aircraft, having the parts, doing that. But what they didn't have was fuel. So what I've done is I've put a fuel mechanism into this game where if you are not careful, you'll run out of fuel before you run out of missions. So you have to use your fuel sparingly, especially late years. 43 it starts, 44 is difficult, 45 you're watching all your fuel. And there's opportunities to get some fuel back and that kind of stuff. So it's a interesting little mechanic that just in the back of your head, ooh, I've got this great target, lots of victory points. It's going to take 6 airplanes. Ooh, then I'm not going to have enough fuel for my next mission or anything. So again, another decision with a real simple mechanism that the player has to make. What do I do?
Right. Well, I think there's so many different interesting mini air campaigns that occurred during the war, right? So I was unaware, for instance, in '44 that at Salerno and then at Anzio, but in particular at Salerno, that the Luftwaffe was so active and that they actually they didn't overcome the Allied air power, but they managed to get a number of missions on target on beaches and fuel depots and sink ships and do all sorts of nasty damage. That was multi-hundred plane missions that was pretty devastating. So being able to create those types of scenarios and generate that sort of experience and understand more about what went on there would be very cool too. So
yeah, in the Mediterranean theater, the first campaign is the Italians' the siege of Malta. So you'll get an awful lot of CR-42 versus Gloucester Gladiator battles and SM-79s coming in and making a mess. But in 42, then the Germans arrive. So now you get the Stuka and you get these other airplanes that are coming in, and there's targets in there of battleships, aircraft carriers, all these kinds of things. So you're doing a lot of fighting over the Med and different things. But in history, the Germans, if they put together a group of aircraft, massed them together, they could get situational supremacy in the air. So they could, like over those beaches, they could take over the beaches and do all that kind of stuff. And they definitely tried to do that. That is one of the things that Adolf Galland was trying to do, was put together what he called the Great Blow. He wanted to save up like 1,000, 1,500, maybe even 2,000 fighter aircraft and just toss them all at one B-17 mission. And he was caught offside because he kind of, Goering was going along with it and he was all excited and everything else. But Goering had a different plan. And if you've ever heard of Operation Bodenplatte, it was supposed to be in support of the Battle of the Bulge. But bad weather grounded all the airplanes. They took well over 1,000 airplanes on New Year's Day, 1945, and attacked all kinds of airfields and control centers and you name it, of the Allies. And did a lot. They did an awful lot of damage, but the problem is the Allies were able to replace it in just a few days. And what the Germans couldn't replace was the number of aircraft and pilots they lost, because they weren't trained to fly nap of the earth, as we call it nowadays. They weren't trained to fly that low, and they weren't trained to do these cross-country things with no aids or anything like that. And the really bad part is they forgot to notify the flak and infantry that these airplanes are going to be passed over. So they lost a lot of airplanes to friendly fire.
No, I didn't know that.
It was a pretty amazing thing. But that's a stretch goal, is that campaign, Bodenplatte. Ooh, nice question. Sake will be replaced by schnapps. I mean, you got to have it, right? Every pilot needs a little something to get them relaxed. So we will have schnapps available for you to buy.
That's great. Yeah, nothing like getting all liquored up before you jump into an aircraft and try and bomb stuff.
I can't hear you, Kev.
Can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Is that better? Looks like we're having some minor technical difficulties. You still there, Chuck?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear you. I don't know what happened here.
Okay. Well, let's see here. Maybe your earbuds.
No, don't worry. Thanks.
You've got someone sneaking in to grab a cat behind you. I see that.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Guess the question is, can you hear me? So everybody stand by. We're going to, there we go. We just lost Chuck. Chuck is leaving. Chuck has left the room. I'm going to bring him back in a minute. And here he comes. Let's try and add him back to the stream.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I just lost all.
Yeah, can you hear okay now?
I can hear you now.
All right, I'm going to pull this other guy out. Now you're still good to go. You good? Let me try this then. Can you hear me now? I feel like the Verizon guy doing the Verizon ad. Chuck. Check with Chuck. Nope.
Hang on.
Well, I would tell you a joke or sing a song, but neither of those things are going to be particularly entertaining. So we will perhaps wait and see if Chuck can rejoin us. I know he was using earpods, so an Apple product. Maybe that's part of the problem. Me and Apple don't get along. I saw that we had this one question here. What kind of optional rules will there be? So when he comes back on, I'm going to get him to try and answer that question for us. And I believe they did escort the cat out, so that may solve that problem. And then, yes, Jim Johnson, we will have him try and just use the speakers and microphone like a normal person. We'll do that if he does indeed make it back. I'm waiting for him to pop back into the studio. When you use this StreamYard software, if you've never used it before, there's a little box at the bottom left-hand side, and it shows each individual that's in the studio. I guess you would call it the green room. So you're backstage, and I'll need to bring him back into the stream when things resolve themselves. And if they don't, we will pivot and we will continue having a brief discussion about a couple of things that we can talk about. Standing by. Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, let's just all be chill here for a minute, and we'll see if we can get him back. And let me actually just bring up my Facebook Messenger in case he is trying to ping me on that. I've got everything else muted here, so I won't see messages popping up. So just bear with me. I call them iPods. I guess they're not iPods. They're buds or something, but whatever. All right, I just sent him a message. We'll see what happens. I'm actually going to kill the Twitch stream. Keep going from there. And is there a dial-in option? No, there's not a dial-in option, but that would be a nice one. And John, what would we do without you, buddy? You know, here you are providing us with a little in situ entertainment while we wait for Chuck to return. Assuming he hasn't had to reboot his entire PC or something of that nature. Can't log in. All right. Well, let me see. That's probably because the show is already started, maybe. Hang on one second. He says he can't log back in. Let's see what we can do about that. Take this screen over here. And you know what I'm going to do? While I'm going to take me off the screen, I'm going to share my screen for a second here and let you guys look at some pictures of Stukas. Oh, that sounds like the man himself. Device is not connected. Yeah, Chuck, you're this. Oh, it's a shit show today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to pull this over here. Stop sharing this screen. And hang on one second. Chuck, you're going to need to enable your mic and your camera. In the meantime, let's see if we can do this guy. Oops, wrong one. I was curious about some of this artwork I found for Stukas. I think they're so, here it is. I'm getting back. All right, let's see how you're doing now. You here?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
We've been out here all along, but we're glad
this is why I do board games, okay? Because otherwise this stuff would go right out the window.
That's funny. Well, I tell you what, there was a question back here. Let me see. Okay. It was something to do with optional rules. So that's not it, but Stukas killed the communications hub. And so audio was coming.
Pilots are really good.
Yeah. And the audio was apparently coming through for everybody except for you. So I imagine it must have been some glitch.
That was mine. I imagine I'm an old guy, you know. I don't even know. I never heard of earbuds until I got one a set for Christmas. So I mean,
that's all right. I've been the last 5 minutes. I've been calling them iPods, so don't worry. So all right. I'm just trying to find this.
Positive. I'm sorry. User error.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, I tell you what. So while I'm going to find this question, there was something about, are there any optional rules? I think was the question. And then I wanted to give you an opportunity if you had any, because I know I don't want to cause any more technical difficulties. If you had any artwork or that you were comfortable sharing or wanted to share, by all means, we can do that too. So why don't you answer the question on optional rules, and then I'm going to shut up and let you do that.
Okay. Yes, there are some optional rules that are available. Hang on a second. We have come up with a couple different things that we want to do. We've got optional rules such as, let me get to my rule book here so I can actually answer that. Optional rules are going to be, you know, typical stuff like you can fly a random squadron, where what you do is you put all of the aircraft that are available, you put their pilot counters in a cup, and okay, I need a newbie, and you pull it out, and that's the pilot that you fly as a newbie. That's a really fun way. I do that an awful lot play testing, simply because it gives me a play test of a lot of different aircraft rather than, I really like this pilot, I'm going to fly him.
Right.
So we've got that, and you got the high stress targets, and you've got the ability to fly an extra aircraft. So if you've got a target that only allows 5, you can take 6. Just be careful because remember your fuel. I'm kind of interested to see how many people run out of fuel later in the war campaigns and are not able to complete their last couple missions. I think that could be very interesting.
Now, and so consequence there will be a lack of VPs, and so you won't meet the VP margin, I guess, then, right?
That's exactly it. Yep. Yeah, I have tried not to make sudden death options. Like if this happens, game over. Okay.
Right.
Because honestly, my first effort at Corsair Leader, I did not choose my squadron correctly, I was playing Wake Island, and I chose 4F Wildcats that were awesome at air-to-air, and my first target was a cruiser. So my guys could barely hit the ocean with their bombs, much less hitting a ship. So guess what? Ended with a dismal failure. So I try not to do that, but there are things that if you don't plan for them, they can make your campaign a real major headache.
Right. I remember there was a solo game that extremely risky, and there really weren't a lot of decisions to be made either. And I'm not going to name the game, A, because I can't remember it, but B, because the second die roll you made, if you rolled the wrong number, your guy died, and it was the second die roll, right? So every now and then you're like, well, that's stupid, and so you're literally ignore the die roll, roll again, and then keep going, right? It was just a goofy, dumb little thing.
That's the nice thing about solitaire games. If you don't like the result, redo. You can always redo it. Yeah. But definitely, I think I know which game you're talking about. And it's not bad if it's like the second shake. That's okay. It's when you're 3/4 of the way through the mission and you get that shake. That's when you go,
because I think it was something that popped up on a regular basis, and you had to make this roll if you didn't, and so that increased your chances of having that loss, right? So
now you can have that in my game. I mean, you can lose an airplane really, really quick, but again, I try to set it up so that you don't lose the game in a sudden that sucks kind of move.
Yeah. So did you have artwork that you wanted to share? What was your verdict on that?
Listen, I lost you. Now you want me to try and share something in this technology?
Look, I'm down for the risk if you're down for it, but if you don't want to because you are concerned about it, what we can do is you can send me some artwork, and I will write a blog post and share it that way. And we can do it that way. That way you get 2 bangs for the buck. So you need to send your check in to me, of course. That big check that you send every time I have you on.
Yeah.
Kidding. So by all means.
Can you see this?
Well, hang on. Let me stop sharing. So, and then you go ahead and elect to share. So click that share button and then share screen.
Hang on a second. We're going to try this again because I had it up and then it didn't work. Like I said, this is why I do board games. Okay, can you see that?
Nope. Here we go. I'm bringing it in now. There we go.
Okay. There it is. Yep. Okay, so sweet. Like this is just an example of an event card. This is, and if you look at Zero Leaders and all of the leaders before, they are all very, very similar. Well, this was one of the pushes at the envelope that Vlad and I got to work on. We wanted to make it more immersive, get you the idea that this is something German happening, and not just have the boring colors or anything like that. So we put this all together, and what I did is it's a German headline, and then English underneath it. So Glücksfall, but that's lucky break, and then it'll tell you what to do. So the idea is just a little coolness when you do it. And Harley's attempting to correct my umlauts. Sorry, Harley, when I put this together, I didn't have the knowledge on how to do umlauts. I do now. And I also have a person, Roby, that is doing my German correction, my German translations, because he had a problem with some of my things. He says, "Oh my gosh, you can't say that. You got to say this." And okay, I'll do that. So. He has become, by default, my German translator.
Gotcha. So what about airplane artwork?
Let me see. Yes,
campaign
I
maps,
do have
scenario maps.
Have some.
Show daddy the goodness.
Well, let's take a look at this one. Hang on a second here.
And so while you're doing that, let's see if you can multitask at the same time. So while while you're trying to bring that back up, I'll probably need to bring it up when it comes. I'll pay attention to it. What was I going to ask you? Shoot. Oh, so playtesting. I was going to ask you what have you been playing recently, but now I'm thinking you've probably been playtesting just this game, I imagine. Yeah.
Yes.
Here we go. I'm going to add this to the stream. Stand by.
Okay.
Oh,
so
this
airplane art.
One of the prototypes, huh?
Yes, this is from the What If. This was a bomber that Germany, they didn't have strategic bombers, but they came up with this idea. This is actually supposed to fly to America and bomb like New York or something like that.
Wow.
It's the E555 America bomber. Okay. And this is one of those that I gave, Vlad, we're going to put this on a card. And then I talked to Ben, and Ben made it gorgeous. And so this is one of those airplanes that you fly if you've got the What If expansion. I'll do something else here now. Geez, I'm almost getting the hang of this. Kev, thank you very much. You've created a monster.
Oh, dear.
And this is the simple one. This is
Nice.
the obvious, infamous ME-109.
Yeah.
And when we originally did it, we had the green camouflage and everything else, which looked really cool. But somebody made a comment on Facebook, hey, why don't you do the yellow nose JG-26 Abbeville boys? And Ben's like, right on it. So the next thing we knew, this is our ME-109E. So in the core game, this is going to be the base aircraft, if you will. So
yeah,
I think it's really,
don't
really cool.
Don't close that yet. Don't close that yet.
Okay.
Well, if what you can do here, so first of all, it looks really cool, and let's leave it up for a second. But what you can do if you want to show more pictures, rather than taking each one down and bring it back up again, if you hover your mouse over the right-hand side of where the wing is, see where the right wing is? See, it's got a little black arrow there. I think that will bring up whatever the next picture is. There you go. So now you
the infamous ME-110.
Yeah, and that's another beautiful aircraft. I didn't realize that the wings were as short as they in span.
Yes.
It's quite a narrow span. That's interesting.
It was a very interesting airplane. It's kind of proof positive that if you try to get something that's good at everything, it's not going to be great at anything. So this was a very good fighter bomber. It wasn't so good at escorting or anything like that. Turned out to be amazing as a night fighter. Once it got the right radar and the right armor and everything else. But the one mistake you don't want to make, you want people to make in Stuka Leader, but you won't want to make it in Spitfire Leader, is don't get in front of this thing. It's got an awful lot of very powerful guns up front.
That's
from the Med
CR42.
expansion.
Yeah.
Yep. This is the CR42.
So I use them. I use them as a bait in my when I'm playing OCS. I take out all the CR42s and sacrifice them to try and do fighter sweeps. I love these old aircraft. They're cute.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. This is a DO-17.
Dornier, that's nice. Yeah.
FWA, FW-190A. This is kind of a base airplane, available 41 on. A little better than the 109.
Right.
Better armed, because the 109F was coming out at that time, so it's a little bit better armed and everything else. Then we go up to the A8. This has bigger bulges as far as the guns are concerned and everything else. And just so you know, Ben and Vlad were having a lot of fun with this. Ben was coming up with these excellent schemes, and Vlad was having a real problem putting them on our cards because of the gray edges, because of the background. We didn't want this stuff to disappear, but between the two of them, turned out perfect. It really turns out nice. I'll show you a card in a little bit. This is an FW-190D Dora. This is available in the Eastern expansion because it's a late war aircraft. Basically, they took the Focke-Wulf and put an inline engine on it. And the goal was to try and get something that could fly better high to deal with the B-17s and that type of stuff. So that's just the HE-51.
Right.
This is from the Spanish expansion. Just an early fighter. So let me show you.
It's amazing how the technology morphed from 37 through 39 and then so rapidly accelerated through the early 40s, right?
Yeah, it was amazing. If you think about it, in a matter of 5 years, we went from flying biplane aircraft to flying jets.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an idea here. Okay, so here's your ME-262. Now here, if you look at like the cards from Zero Leader or anything like that, this is what Vlad started doing, and it's just amazing because these have a whole different feel to them. We wanted to make the stats in gauges so that it looks like the dashboard of an aircraft, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Put a background below the airplane that's not like a little cloud or anything like that. But
right. So these are very different.
Works out really good.
So we can see just how different these are, right? So it's not just.
Yep.
And this is where one of the things I like about the Leader series, I think, is that you and Kevin and the team, it's not, while it's a base system, and I've had my ups and downs with it in various little ways here and there. Each module has its own unique feel to it, and you're trying to. It's always feels like it's progressing. I guess is what I'm trying to say there. So I appreciate that versus just sticking the same stuff out for the last 10 modules, right? So.
Well, exactly, and that's what I was doing. Just so you see, this is the campaign sheet.
Oh yeah, let me just pull it up. Hang on.
This is the campaign sheet.
Right. Very different again, right? So
yes, yeah, it's very colorful. I like because it's very colorful. It has a lot of period-looking stuff. The enemy is up there, and it shows a picture of the PZL-11, and the German aircraft are in the area with a Stuka in the background, that kind of stuff. But if you just look at the map is very immersive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure if you're wondering what these dots mean, well, what the dots are, now these are just placed, relatively randomly. This is a prototype. But the dots are, the green is going to be 0 added stress and 0 fuel. The yellows are going to be 1 stress, 1 fuel. And the red are going to be 2 stress, 2 fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So by doing this, we can actually put them together. If you look at it, you'll notice the red, when we were first doing this, was just stress, but we've added the fuel to that too. So the red, as you can see, kind of gathered around the Warsaw area, that kind of stuff, because going into that was much more dangerous.
Right.
And then you've got the 2 stresses around the outside, and the greens were, rural and airfields and all that type of thing. So a lot less stress. So that's the idea behind the colors. In the older games, they would have a line going right through here, right through the middle of it or whatever, and they put 1 stress to the left and 2 stress to the right, which worked great. Okay.
Right.
But this way, this allows us to be far more flexible where we put the targets.
Yeah, well, that's also more elegant, right? It's use some color coding. That makes sense. Absolutely.
Yep. And then down here, these are notes. So like in the Polish campaign, the first mission has no sights or bandits due to complete surprise. So when you fly this mission, you don't have any enemy aircraft or sites to deal with. And the reason I did that, I mean, first off, it's historically true, but the second reason I did that is this is an excellent training scenario.
Mhm.
If you've not played leader games before, playing this one, you learn how to fly your aircraft. You learn how to fly your bombers, how to drop your bombs, attack targets, do that kind of stuff on the first mission without getting into dogfights and doing all that kind of stuff. You just have this, and it really, really, really is helpful if this is your first time playing
Right.
one of these games. It's very helpful.
Right. Very cool.
And then I just want to show you one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
Give me a second here to pull it out. Now again, these are prototype.
No
So
problem.
there are some changes on here. But this is the new tactical display. Now, if you look at it, a couple things. If you're used to the older leader games, Zero Leader, Corsair Leader were all water with a small island in the center. Especially at the start of the war, there was very little water. There's no naval targets until you get to Canal Kampf. So we wanted to show more of the France, that kind of stuff. We still have the canal in there and you name it. But we wanted to, and you notice the creases and everything. The idea is this is a battle map set up. Here's a cup of coffee that the pilot is having and his pencil and erasers. He's planning his mission.
Right.
So you got the area for the target deck and event decks, keeping track of the turns. This Rauken Verboten, that is where you're going to put all your fuel, which is why smoking is prohibited. And then here's the breakdown of the per turn stuff,
And
showing you how the turn works and everything.
That's a really nice immersive approach, right? So,
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. Is it? I want, when people play it, I don't really want them to just play a plain old board game. I want them to really feel like they're part of this. That this is kind of what you're doing. You know what I mean? I'm very, very happy with the way this turned out. And between Vlad and Ben, I'm just hoping my game comes anywhere close to making it like their art is making it. I'll tell you, that's very, very impressive.
The artwork's really impressive. It's beautiful.
Yep.
Well, cool.
So those are pretty much the things. The things that we're looking at. That's pretty much. I mean, other than the box art, which obviously we've got everywhere, but.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I know that when I spoke with you, I said that I had an hour, so we're kind of easing up on that hour. We've got a Good Friday service we're going to, but I wanted to have you on before the Kickstarter came out, which is today's
Wednesday.
So next Wednesday, right?
Today's the 15th. Wednesday
right?
The 20th. Yes.
Wednesday the 20th. So that is not fine. Is it a 14-day or a 30-day campaign?
22.
Okay, 22. Yeah.
And for people who say about 420, no, this does not have anything to do with the marijuana. But there is another connection that some people should catch for 420.
Okay, and that is?
Well, should I give the Easter egg away?
I don't know.
You know how many people? I wonder how many people that are watching now are right now Googling 420.
Right. I'm trying to think. What was it? It wasn't Battle of Britain.
Yep, Harley's got it. He didn't say whose birthday, but he got the birthday. That happens to be Der Fuhrer's birthday, April 20th. So that was. Dan came up with that date, and I'm like, why are we choosing the 20th? Because it didn't click with me right away. And he told me, and I went, okay, cool.
Okay.
Just a little tie-in.
That works.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we're going to April 20th. noon Pacific time, which is 2 o'clock for those of us who live in the real world in the Midwest.
Right.
So 2 p.m. on Wednesday, the 20th, we go live, and I'm very excited to see who's going to be the first backer. And hopefully we can get this funded, and we can get it funded quick. I know there are some questions, and I just want to let you know that between Vlad, Ben, and I, with assists from Kevin and Dan, we've got this thing. We've got this thing definitely well in hand. We are very, very close. Sorry, Harley. But we are very, very close to being able to send this to the printer already. So
That is excellent.
I've got the rule book is done, and it's out to 3 or 4 people for editing help. I've got all the pilots created and named. I've got all of the Vlad's getting the aircraft cards done as soon as Ben gets the aircraft done. So we're boogieing right along. Few little details and things like that we have to put together, that kind of stuff. But this isn't going to be a long wait after the Kickstarter, assuming the printer doesn't have us delays and we don't have 400 ships sitting outside of LA waiting to unload.
All those things.
Stuff out of our control. But DVG
Right.
and we're working very hard to get this to the players as quick as we possibly can.
That is wonderful. That's great to hear. Well, I'm super excited about it. I think you guys have done another fine job here, Chuck, and to
Thank you.
the art and counter folks have done some nice work as well. It's really looking good. All the maps and charts and things. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right, everybody.
I certainly hope it does.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. So I'll be following along next week. What I'll probably do is I'll pop a blog post out on Wednesday as a reminder to everybody that it's out. And I took a couple of screen grabs of some of the aeroplanes, and we'll sort of slap a little bit of sexy
Yeah, if you need any of the other art for something or whatever, I'll be more than happy to send you. But yeah, I've already set an alarm because it's not like I'm excited about it or anything like that. So this way I know when Wednesday comes up, right? But yeah, very, very, very exciting.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. All the very best.
Thank you very much for the time. And
Yeah,
sorry
thanks,
about
everybody.
the technical glitch in the center there.
No,
Thanks
no problem.
everybody for listening in.
Yeah,
I really
exactly.
appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, and I hope now that Vlad and Ben have seen what I look like in real life, they'll still work with me.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.